37. Go.
There are 4 issues I wish to contribute to this town hall, and thank you for having it. The Constitution, racial injustice, the fake news, and personal advocacy. Number 1, separation of church and state. Genesis 1:29, God also said, "Look, I have given you every seed-bearing plant on the surface of the entire earth, and every tree whose fruit contains seed. This food will be for you." Number 2, racial injustice. I'm John Dickinson, a long-time resident of the Rainier District, the only district in Washington where minorities are in the majority. I laugh sadly when the news reports that cannabis is legal in Washington. The People's Initiative 502 added 502 more laws against cannabis. During the 2015 legislative session, Second Substitute Senate Bill 5052, with the Orwellian title the Patients Protection Act, was passed by the legislature. It was signed by Governor Inslee on April 24, 2015, adding 5,052 more laws against cannabis, including the closing of 100% of all the medical access points in this state. 3 years later, still to this day, there are none in the Rainier District, where there used to be hundreds. Number 3, Orwellian English, more quotes from the state's websites. Quote, Governor Inslee vetoed Section 42 and 43, which would remove from Schedule 1 of the Washington State's Controlled Substance Act any medical marijuana product that the Department of Health identifies in rule as appropriate for sale to qualifying patients and designated providers in a retail outlet that holds medical marijuana endorsement. In his veto, Governor Inslee noted that rescheduling just medical marijuana, quote, may cause serious problems, such as having the unintended effect of limiting the types of marijuana that are considered medicine, end quotes. Therefore, he directed the department to, quote, thoroughly consider this idea in consultation with medical professionals and stakeholders and bring an appropriate resolution to me and the legislature by next year, end quotes. Our state's cannabis controllers, the Department of Health and Department of Alcohol, gave 5 options for consideration to the stakeholders, including all the government's own growers, processors, retailers. They overwhelmingly wanted to deschedule cannabis. The agencies chose the option to make no changes, ignoring their input as they chose the dichotomy. Personal advocacy. I'm a lifelong medical cannabis user. At 16, doctors gave me 20 years more to live, a diagnosis that prompted me to search the world for anything that might prove them wrong. 50-plus years, countries later, I was convinced that cannabis, a plant that had been used for thousands of years for diabetes, was my chosen relief. 50-plus years later, I feel I made the right choice. We now have an unarguable position where our state acknowledges, recognizes, and even profits from medical cannabis, yet continues to leave it in the Schedule 1 classification of drugs defined as having no medical benefits. There can be no defense for this contradiction and their decision to keep this plant illegal. Chiasmus for today. In 1843, religions are the opioids of the masses. 2043, opioids are the religions of the masses. And this one from Carrie Fisher. Religion is the opiate of the masses. I did masses of opiates religiously. Not bad. That was the best one we got in cut.
No. You're going to have to do it.